Hello, fellow risk takers, and welcome to my worst investment ever. Stories of loss to keep you winning. In our community, we know that to win in investing, you must take risk, but to win big, you've got to reduce it. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm on a mission to help 1 million people reduce risk in their lives. To reduce risk in your life, pause this episode right now and go to myworstinvestmentever.com and take the risk reduction assessment I've created from the lessons I've learned from more than 470 guests. It's time you start building wealth the easy way by reducing risk. Fellow risk takers, this is your worst podcast host, Andrew Stotz from A Stotz Academy, and I'm here with featured guest Puja Talesara Bhandari. Puja, are you ready to join the mission?
Yay, I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on, and I'm going to tell the audience a little bit about you. Puja is an internationally certified life and executive coach, recognized globally for her out-of-the-box thinking and results-based approach. She has also been recognized for her leadership roles and was confirmed as one of the influential women in the millennial space. She was nominated 6 times as one of LinkedIn's Wonder Women. That's pretty cool. Puja, take a minute and tell us a bit about the value that you bring to the world.
Thank you, Andrew, for such a warm and a beautiful introduction. Hello, everyone. Hello, listeners. Inward excellence leads to outward excellence. This is the essence of my life, Andrew. So, my roots have been into human resources. I started with human resources, and thereon, I got on to the coaching, which is my passion, my purpose. But the interesting thing between starting from the human resources to now in the coaching has been that I am, in fact, one of the first professional in my family. My family is non-English speaking family, and it's a completely business-driven family. So being the first professional, that's where was my first negotiation lesson. Even before to convince my dad that I need to get on to the professional journey. Because just imagine, if you are in a hardcore business environment and you tell them like, and that to a conservative business environment, and you tell them like, I want to do human resources, and for them it would be like, what are you talking about? What we understand as only investment money, and we're talking about human resources. So that was the first negotiation. And another highlight, which I'm very proud of, humbly very proud and honored of, is to be mentored by John Mitton, and that too on a scholarship basis. In fact, I'm the youngest mentee to be mentored by him, and John happens to be a ex-coach of Steve Jobs, and that happened on one of the podcasts wherein he was my guest, and I told him like, I want to be mentored by you, and he said, yeah, definitely. So thank you, and very excited and on your to be on your mission today.
Yeah, well, we're very happy to have you on it. So now it's time to share your worst investment ever. And since no one goes into their worst investment thinking it will be, tell us a bit about the circumstance leading up to it, and then tell us your story.
Hmm, that's quite very thoughtful question because and absolutely you're right, so we really never talk about investment and that to worst investment. So it is a good opportunity to think through. So here, Andrew, as our life progresses, our perspective changes, right? And so did mine. Um, from just moving on to a hardcore cash investment today, when I look back, I feel the time and energy is even a most important investment. And perhaps that's why it is said that time is money. So we need to be very careful that wherein we are investing our time and energy. So the investment, the worst investment, which I'm going to talk about, happened for an organization wherein, I had invested my 6 months. I was working hard for a project wherein I was pitching in. And in fact, Andrew, how it started off like normally when you pitch in, right, for a project, it would be like hey, give us a bundle price. If we are going to give you this project, so what's going to be the overall pricing? And that's what happened. So obviously, I gave them a very lucrative price. The two projects took off, but the final project, which was a big cash budget priced one, um, you can understand how emotional I'm getting when I'm speaking about it as well. That just imagine 3 days prior the project, I'm working on my desktop. I'm so into it, immersed into it. And that was something, just few days before my birthday, we were supposed to go out, but I was like, okay, this project is very important. I'm completely into it. And I call up the executive of the organization, hey, anything you need from me? And she's like, I'm going to get back to you. I was like, but the pre-work and everything needs to be distributed because, and I'm very particular about it. So she didn't answer and she kept on, just moving it. And just a day prior, exactly, I still remember it was exactly some, 13, 14 hours prior, and I'm still following up with her like tomorrow it's happening or not. And then I get to know it's been scrapped. Ah, and you know what? It didn't stop there. Further, I invested another 2 months following up for it. So I tried to follow up with the higher management team because let me tell you, this particular organization I had done already with them 4 to 5 assignments, and it is a very reputed organization, something which is very revered. It's not one of those which has just come up. It's a very old established organization, and 6 months of investment. Another 2 months I invested to follow up, and just to feel later it was a waste of time and energy.
So, what lessons did you learn from this?
So here the lesson, the most important lesson now, there are like around 3 to 4 lessons which I've learned and which I usually use it now as a benchmark. Now, first thing is whenever we are investing, now be it in any kind of investment, we really get on to the organization reputation. Here, I told you the organization was very revered, organization, very respectable organization. But what is important is, Andrew, besides the organization, is even the people, the leaders driving it. You need to have an immense trust in them. And trust is something, what happens is we get onto an extreme continuum. Either we trust someone, and if we trust someone, we trust blindly, or we don't trust. So actually, trust is a ladder. We need to climb on it, and it needs to be enough phases, which is so important. And very important to have a trust with the leader. The third thing was that you need to know when to withdraw. Because till the time I kept on investing, I told you like time is money, right? And I was so overwhelmed with so many emotions. Just imagine it's like 6 months you are into it. I was not doing any other project. So it is very important that while you have your priority identified, but then there needs to be another subset as well. So always have your main goal, but don't lose sight of the other goals. Because you never know, right? Life is very unpredictable. Future is unpredictable. And one needs to know that for future, which is so unpromising. Like as I told you that, initially I gave a very, very lucrative price just to gain that big project, right? So we need to know that how much to give it, where to be assertive, where we need to really put the down. It's very, very important that we need to know that, hey, beyond that, I'm not going to compromise. So very important to be assertive, trust, and the leaders, and when to withdraw. Because I invested another 2 months and so much of negative energy, right, into it, and I was not able to focus. The moment I switched on my focus, I was able to recover triple of that money in my assignments and future assignments. So very important.
So maybe I'll summarize what I take away. The first thing is that I like to describe trust as the glue of business. And basically when we study business in school, we very rarely talk about trust. We talk about accounting, we talk about finance, we talk about marketing. But think about every business, there's trust involved in everything. So, for instance, you give credit to a customer, you receive credit from a supplier, you sign a contract to have a trusting agreement. Employees work all month long trusting that at the end of the month they're going to be paid their salary. And in fact, it's like this invisible glue that we never really learned about. And now I see, and I think the pandemic actually has exposed some of this, is that when trust breaks down in supply chains and stuff because of external factors like government shutting things down, trust starts collapsing. And when trust starts collapsing, it's impossible to do business. And therefore, trust is such an important glue. And that's the thing that I really take away, because ultimately you were trusting and you were giving everything you got. But when that trust started to fall apart, then it all falls apart. Anything you would add to that?
Yes, I think you have beautifully summarized, and but what I really feel is, besides this, is that we get very emotional, and the moment we are emotionally invested in that situation, we are not able to make a sound decision. So it's very important, like take a director's seat and look at it as a third party,
Mm,
that what is a fact, what is a feeling in this, because that's the time it's a very fine line, that you need to entangle, you also entangle, and you need to really move away and view it as a third party. So trust and viewing it as a third party.
so a good word for that is objectivity. To be
Absolutely.
objective, to be able to step back. So I think that's
Absolutely.
great. Third
Be
party.
objective. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it is okay to be feeling emotionally overwhelmed. Recognize that. And then try to slowly move on and look at objectively.
Perfect. So, based upon what you learned from this story and what you continue to learn, what one action would you recommend our listeners take to avoid suffering the same fate?
Mhm. So, while you were asking me about this, there are four words which come to my mind. Yeah, so which I would recommend to everyone, and that's what I did. You need to stop. You need to scan what's working, what's not working. Stop, scan. Then you need to switch over, and then you scale up from that action, from that plan of action. So very important first is to stop yourself and then study and then make a switch. So that's
Got
what
it.
I did, and that's what I would request everyone to do, to take a pause from that moment, study yourself like emotionally, and then switch it over.
Fantastic. Well, what's one resource that you would recommend that could benefit listeners?
Mhm. I would recommend to connect with me on LinkedIn because on LinkedIn I do share the personal experiences which has shaped me, my personal and professional experiences, and there and I give many powerful tips and techniques that how can one navigate through crucial conversations, how can one be assertive, something which can help one to be a better version of self in every space. So yeah, please connect with me on LinkedIn, Puja Talesara Bhandari.
Fantastic. And we'll have that in the show notes. Isn't it amazing that LinkedIn now has become almost like your own personal website where you can communicate your ideas, and it's a platform that then distributes those ideas? So I think, and obviously being a Wonder Woman of LinkedIn, you're really taking advantage of the opportunity. And for the listeners out there, remember, only a tiny fraction of people on LinkedIn actually post and share, unlike, let's say, Facebook, where everybody shares, everybody posts, but only a tiny fraction on LinkedIn post and share. So there's an opportunity there on LinkedIn, and you're taking advantage of it. So we'll have a link to your LinkedIn profile in the show notes. So for the listeners out there, you can go
Thank
and listen.
you.
Yeah. So, last question: what is your number one goal for the next 12 months?
So this is going to be my goal not only for 12 months, but for coming many more months. So I'm on a mission, Andrew, to create communities of inspiring, authentic, courageous leaders across age span and geography. And that's what I'm doing through various of my initiatives, catering right from Generation Z to the corporates.
Exciting. So we can follow that, ladies and gentlemen, follow that journey on LinkedIn. And I'm looking forward to learning more about it. Well, listeners, there you have it. Another story of loss to keep you winning. If you haven't yet taken the risk reduction assessment, I challenge you to go to myworstinvestmentever.com right now and start building wealth the easy way by reducing risk. As we conclude, Puja, I want to thank you again for coming on the show. And on behalf of a Stotz Academy, I hereby award you alumni status for turning your worst investment ever into your best teaching moment. Do you have any parting words for the audience?
I just want to say two things. One is remember that every exit in your life is an entry somewhere. And second thing is that while we are always focusing to change the environment, to change the things around us, but the real transformation starts with us. So the one corner wherein you need to focus is within you.
Beautiful. And that's a wrap on another great story to help us create, grow, and protect our wealth. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, this podcast is about one guest, one story, one mission to help 1 million people reduce risk in their lives. Fellow risk takers, this is your worst podcast host, Andrew Stotz, saying, I'll see you on the upside.